People have a very short memory. They don't recall that our dear leaders that we love so much were criticizing very deeply Venezuela.
Venezuela cannot self-finance oil recovery, okay? US corporations already have the infrastructure, they have the manpower, they have all the tools they need to just get in there and get it done.
Nations, civilizations, empires, kingdoms have vied for power, for resources, killing, enslaving, raping one another. So you have to align yourself with that reality. In life, there's only one thing that matters. It's called bigger gun diplomacy, period.
Federal prosecutors say up to $18 billion may have been stolen from US social programs. Do you want to take a guess as to what the country of Somalia's entire GDP is?
That.
12 to $13 billion.
The oil is going to be taken. I'll say it right now. The oil is going to be extracted, whether you like it or you fucking don't. But here's the reality. Who do you rather be a puppet state to? Sorry, that's the truth.
And I think this is a great segue into capitalism versus socialism.
Let's do it. Welcome to the Right Call Podcast, a voice of reason and chaos. Episode 103, the first of the new year 2022. My name is Elliot Dangyo, and I have here with me
Simmer.
How are you doing, kind sir?
I'm doing great, Elliot. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, man. You got any plans for I love the New Year's because it's like it's a great it's a litmus test for me. It's like a point in time where I just reevaluate. How did the last year go? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? What can I do better?
Yeah.
And what about you?
I try not to stare into the void and did the bottomless pit of despair in my life, the chaoticness of it. I mean, it was a good year, dude. 2025 was a transitional year. Let's put it like that. And most importantly, I had the chance over the holidays to be on a couple of shows. My good friend Jason out in Alberta with the Brave New Normal, and also another episode that will air this week with a complete different individual, Samantha, a wonderful woman who's doing great things, and she fled Canada. It's great. But all of them, we had the discussion, and the discussion centered around 2025 was the year of awakening, I think, where people realized all the scams, the fraud, the bullshit that were being perpetuated against them. But 2026, and I'm coining it right now, and this should be our war cry from now on. 2026 is the year of no. No, that's all it takes. Say no. No to the fraud. No to the mass migration. No to a government who does not represent your interests. No to the corruption. No to sending money in Ukraine. No to the Somalis. No to supporting stupid communist ideologies. No, this all ends the moment we say no. There you go. And what about you? Any deep realizations?
Honestly, you kind of nailed it on the head. 2025 was a transition year. It's a year where you had to take the time to realize, well, for me anyways, and for some of the people that I'm close to, like you have to take the time to realize that the status quo, for example, here in Canada, you look at the cost of living crisis in the United States, in Europe, the social chaos that you saw, for example, in the UK, with radical Islam just kind of taking over. You saw issues in Minnesota, like you saw with the Somali, and now today we're going to talk about what happened in Venezuela, which is a big turning point, I think, in what's happening in that country.
Of course.
And you saw Venezuelans rejoice and then radical leftists complain. And
make it make sense. Make it make sense.
And I think it's time to really set in stone that free enterprise capitalism, free trade, is far superior as a political system, as a economic system, than socialism. And
Amen. But wait, dude, this is still the intro. You're getting way too far ahead. You're 2026. You got this wang half energy, right?
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say. This is the year where the Lamborghini engine is revving at full speed. We're going hard.
Fuck, I thought you were getting right into it. First, we have to do our Patreon shout out. I'm sorry, we have to give. Ahead. Patrick and Patrick. Sorry. Celine, Pierre, Sylvie, Tim, Aaron. There you go. Thank you, guys. Subscribe. By the way, if any of you guys relate or feel like you connect with the ideologies that we espouse here today, like, share, subscribe to our channel, send it. Let 2026 be the year where CBC is defunded, and Or I Call Podcast takes over the fucking world. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Amen. Real quick, by the way, I start the year every freaking new year. I start with a fast. Have you ever done a fast before?
Not really.
You've never, eh?
No.
Too much of an inner fatty boom boom.
I don't know what it is.
You know, it sucks. It's not fun. Like right now, I'm like 12 hours in. It's really not the end of the world. But dude, by day 2, like tomorrow will be hell. Like your soul leaves the body. But for me, it's a mental challenge. And I think it's another thing too that we can parallel it to Canada afterwards. It's the fact that to be able to achieve greatness, you have to be willing to sacrifice shit, right? Comfort, most importantly. I love eating. Like I'm literally a fatty boom boom. But right now, I will not eat for at least 72 hours, maybe even a little bit longer, maybe 80-ish hours. It sucks. It's not fun. It really blows, but it's that mental challenge, that toughness and doing what's right for you. And it's also good like physically and for the health and everything. So regardless, right now I got my trusty little water with some minerals. All right. By the way, if any company wants to sponsor us, we can put some minerals in there. You know, for real, they have like Element is one of them, not sponsored or anything like that, but it'd be really cool. Sponsor us, motherfuckers. Anyways, my man, I'll hand it off to you with that strong energy. Let's get into it. Do you want to get into Venezuela?
Let's get right into Venezuela.
Because this is big, eh?
It's enormous. Enormous. So as you probably know, and as our viewers have probably heard, Donald Trump's administration has essentially apprehended Maduro, Nicolás Maduro,
yes.
the dictator of Venezuela, the socialist dictator, I might add, to the dismay of, you know, radical lunatic leftists who don't understand anything, to their dismay. But, you know, we also saw an incredible amount of Venezuelans celebrate him being gone.
But what we should start with is just a little bit of an explanation for the people who have been living under a rock. It was a holiday. Maybe, you know, you were in a post turkey haze or something, you know. I sure fucking was. What happened effectively, right? So it had been several months, I believe, that the U.S. had started posturing around the coastline of Venezuela, right? And blockading it. Now, at first, it was under the auspice of preventing drugs from escaping Venezuela to be imported to the U.S., which is a big problem, by the way, kid you not. And we saw some videos of drug boats being like annihilated, right? Being droned or being missiled and whatnot. And I mean, that was pretty cool. Looks like a freaking video game, which is crazy. But it progressed over time where threats of Maduro, you better resign, you better step down. And for the people to realize, Maduro was a dictator. Maduro was defeated in the last election, I believe was 2019. He was defeated and he held on to power illegitimately against democracy. And he started executing dissenters. He had paramilitary groups and secret police abduct people. I have people on the ground that I know in Venezuela. As a matter of fact, while it was happening, I got messages as it was happening before the news even knew it. They're like, it's happening. I'm like, oh my God, the US. And these people, right, they were scared shitless of talking about anything because of the government out there. So in the wee hours of the night on January 3rd, the president of the US gave the order for a military operation to be performed. And I gotta say, this was textbook, incredible levels of precision. This is something that only the United States of America have the capacity to do. In less than 3 hours, they managed to wipe out pretty much all air defenses around the capital of Caracas. They managed to send in a group of special forces. They managed to abduct the president of a foreign nation and exfil that man out towards a carrier to be brought back to the US. 3 hours, not a single American casualty. That is insane. So for the operation, it is insane. The operation utilized 150 aircrafts. The special forces that were deployed were the 1st Special Force Operational Detachment Delta, also colloquially known as Delta Force. These guys are like the biggest badass. And they also utilized the 160th SOAR, which is the Special Operations Airborne Regiment. It took 3 hours, in, out, head of state, no casualty. Now, there was some injuries. One aircraft was damaged. I saw a video of it. It's hilarious. You have this guy who's like shooting in an aircraft or trying to use what's called a man pad, which is like a portable anti-air missile, right? Like a Stinger missile from video games. and completely miss. And the freaking chopper goes and fucking rockets the shit out of him. Now, why did the US do this? Well, ultimately, there is an indictment. This is not just like a shift in regime, like a lot of people claim it is. It is legitimately an indictment coming out of the Southern District of New York for the following: narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, which makes me laugh. I don't know why. That's kind of a weird one, but still. And conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. So now Maduro will stand trial in the US and he will have his due process. He is presumed innocent until proven guilty. But I mean, he's pretty quick, right? So that's a little bit the summary of what happened so that people understand.
Yeah, and I actually took the time to see his track record as leader of Venezuela. While he was in power for, I believe, 27 years.
Yep.
Okay. Tremendous reign and a grip on the country. He completely destroyed the Venezuelan economy.
Yep.
So Venezuela saw a 75% collapse in GDP during his reign. He triggered hyperinflation to the tunes of 1,000,000% that wiped out savings and wages for the average Venezuelan. Okay. Venezuela, I don't know if you know this, but has the largest reserves of oil in the world by far. There's not even Saudi Arabia competes with Venezuela for the amount of oil they have in the ground. And he completely collapsed the oil sector. Their biggest, most profitable industry completely destroyed it. They actually they socialized. You know, it's oil mining in Venezuela is state controlled, similar to, for example, the SAQ controlling alcohol in Quebec.
Right.
It's a state-owned oil and gas company, and essentially the only oil producer in the country. And oil production fell from 3 million barrels per day to under 1 million barrels per day at its low.
That's fucked.
And this caused a severe crisis in the country, a humanitarian crisis where there are severe shortages of food, medicine, electricity, to a point where 7 to 8 million Venezuelans fled Venezuela while he was in power. Okay. You mentioned he eroded democracy in that country by ignoring the results of a free and fair election. Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau even criticized Maduro during the time. Chuck Schumer criticized Maduro.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at that, actually. You know what? Let's, for the viewer's sake, because it's important. Because, again, we're having a lot of discourse already in the public opinion, but people have a very short memory. They don't recall that our dear leaders that we love so much were criticizing very deeply Venezuela. So we're going to put on screen right now. I have screenshots. I have receipts.
So do I.
Well, do you want to put them on?
Oh, I could take them out if you.
I have them here. It's up to you.
Okay, yeah, pop them up.
All right. So it's coming up on here. So we're going to have, I got them all. I got them fucking all. I got the receipts, motherfucker. So we got Justin Trudeau right here saying, and this was, I don't remember when it was, but he says, spoke with Lula official today about the presidential election in Venezuela. Canada's position is clear. The results of the election must be credibly verified, legitimate, and they must reflect the will of the Venezuelan people, which clearly was not an issue, or was an issue. Joe Biden said that Venezuela's election to the UN Human Rights Council is a travesty. Nicolás Maduro is a dictator, plain and simple. His regime's human rights violation and extrajudicial killings have been documented by the UNHRC, the UN Human Rights Commission, basically. So clearly not a good guy. Justin Trudeau says G7 leaders denounced the recent Venezuelan presidential election and its results and stand in solidarity with the people of Venezuela. Our statement, probably some bullshit word salad. Joe Biden says the violence in Venezuela today against peaceful protesters is criminal. Maduro's regime is responsible for incredible suffering. The U.S. must stand with the National Assembly and Guaido, well, I'm not fucking Spanish enough for this shit, in their effort to restore democracy through legitimate, internationally monitored elections. So people were not supporting.
Left or right, they knew that Maduro was a troublesome leader. right? And so you look at these protests by these radical leftists who are protesting against Maduro because the moment Donald Trump does anything, it's automatically wrong.
Mm-hmm.
These people are really outing themselves as clueless morons, quite frankly.
Yep.
But let's move on. Let's look at Maduro's track record.
Yes.
So he eroded the democracy. Then after that, human rights abuses, security forces accused by the UN of arbitrary arrests, torture, and killings of peaceful protesters.
Mm-hmm.
Institutional decay. The central bank lost independence. You know, the central bank is supposed to be independent from the government.
Yeah.
They're supposed to plan monetary policy. This happens in North America. It happens in every country essentially these days. But you could see the results of it with 1,000,000% inflation over the course of Maduro's reign. So by any objective standard, Maduro's continued rule correlates with state failure level outcomes from purely empirical standpoint. Now, from a business standpoint, you know, people are claiming that Donald Trump wants, and he does. He said this on the record that he wants American interests to be involved in Venezuelan oil, and so people will automatically resort to calling him a dictator, an authoritarian, a fascist. But I actually took the time to try to understand from a business standpoint, how would oil exploration, whether it's Venezuelan companies or American companies, how would it affect the life of the average Venezuelan? Do you want to get into that?
Sure.
Okay. So if it was done correctly, oil exploration would create a ton of jobs in Venezuela for the Venezuelan people, whether they're working for, I don't know, ExxonMobil or a Venezuelan company, oil exploration company. It creates a ton of jobs. I'm sure you know a guy who's worked in the oil rigs making six-figure salary.
Me.
Yeah, there we go.
Myself.
And you don't need a lot of education for those jobs. It creates a lot of opportunity for normal working class people to work in extremely high-paying jobs. And so engineers, welders, logistics, security, administration creates a ton of jobs in Venezuela, will help stabilize their currency, pay off any debt they may or may not have. And the skills that you learn in jobs like that really help the people there. Learning skills in any business, like, sorry, you're gonna have to maybe cut this off.
We don't do cutting. 2026, no cutting. It's one shot. We are imperfect. We are human.
Yes, but these jobs give the employees a lot of skills.
Of course.
And those skills really help those workers work in other fields, in other businesses to grow an economy. And those revenues, the revenues that the Venezuelan government would collect from the oil revenues of a growing oil economy would help build hospitals, power grids, water, lower inflation, stabilize their currency. You know, the 7 to 8 million Venezuelans that actually left the country, a lot of them might just go back to their home where they probably love their country.
Let's hope.
You know, and so
re-immigration, baby.
There's a ton of opportunity for Venezuelans, even if American corporations are investing in drilling.
But I'm all
oil.
for it. I don't understand why people are against that shit.
Because they're socialists.
Well, no, not even about that. Why people are against the U.S. having interest in this. Look, I saw this video of this guy, this Venezuelan, partying on the street. He was so happy with the regime change. And then the journalist, some leftist lunatic, saying, yeah, but aren't you worried that the U.S. are just going to take all the oil? And he's like, where the fuck were you guys when the Chinese and the Russians were taking all their fucking oil? You guys didn't care about it. So look, the oil is going to be taken. I'll say it right now. The oil is going to be extracted, whether you like it or you fucking don't. But here's the reality. Who do you rather has some form of authority over your country? Who do you rather be a puppet state to? Sorry, that's the truth. Do you rather be a puppet state to China, Russia?
No, sir.
Or do you rather be a puppet state to the United States of America? I will take the U.S. every single day because however much manifest destiny the Monroe Doctrine has, which I still agree with, by the way, the U.S. has a foundation of freedom, of rule of law, of pride, of patriotism. You know, you got freedom of speech. You can say what the fuck you want. People are armed. You can have some guns. You can repress a tyrannical government.
And free trade.
And free trade. And biggest market economy in the world. Most innovation in the world. There's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. So I rather that than China. And so the oil will be extracted. You know, that's the thing. Also, people live in this fucking utopia, this vacuum in their head where like everyone is equal and people are just friends. Guys, it's the history of mankind. Nations, civilizations, empires, kingdoms have vied for power, for resources, killing, enslaving, raping one another. Sorry, it's the truth. So you have to align yourself with that reality. In life, there's only one thing that matters. It's called bigger gun diplomacy, period. That's the only thing that matters. And this is another thing too that cracks me up about the entire operation where, you know, where they blame the US. It's illegal what they did. It's illegal what they did. You know, they claim, and this is important, right? They claim that it violated international law. And we'll get back into like the oil drilling and shit, but it's important. You know, the left is invoking international law for a dictator. Like for real, think about that for a second, all right? They invoke law for a man who rigged elections, jailed his opponents, and starved his own people. What is international law supposed to do when someone loses an election, installs himself as a dictator, and imprisons the opposition? What has international law done since 1999 for the victims? Thousands have died. 8 million Venezuelans were forced to flee, like you said. Law is supposed to protect people from tyranny, not protect tyrants from the people. Sovereignty comes from people, not from narco dictator who floods the world with cocaine. When a regime exports drugs, chaos, and mass migration, response should be self-defense. And they don't even believe their own fucking arguments, by the way. They don't. The same people claiming Maduro shouldn't have been taken applauded when the Biden administration put a $25 million bounty on his head. If international law, no, for real, if international law prevented invasions, Ukraine wouldn't be at war, Taiwan wouldn't be preparing for one. That our elites now invoke it to protect a dictator shows how completely deluded they've become and how our enemies use our own legal fantasy against us. And we've seen this with immigration, by the way. If international law means people must live under a socialist dictator forever, then it's already failed. And to that I say, fuck international law, by the way. That is an abstract concept that actually really doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And one thing, the US does not abide by it. The US has never recognized international law. They recognize one thing, the supremacy of the Constitution of the United States of America. That's it. All right, that was my point. I got a little hand. Well, is Hub in here? Anyways,
on a side note,
mm-hmm.
The whole thing, like, why not just let, you know, the Venezuelans exploit their own oil?
Yeah.
Venezuela cannot self-finance oil recovery. The country is very poor.
Yeah.
Okay. U.S. interests, U.S. corporations already have the infrastructure. They have the manpower. They have all the tools they need to just get in there and get it done.
Same thing with Canada, by the way. That's one of the reasons why I'm a big proponent of making a deal with the U.S. is because we have the third largest proven oil reserve in the world, right? And it's just sitting in the ground doing nothing.
Canada is screwed on that front because our oil is more expensive to exploit. And now that the U.S. has a new customer called Venezuela, the biggest oil reserve in the world,
customer.
Well, they're going to pay Venezuelan interest to get that work done, right?
Sure.
They're going to pay Venezuelan taxes, Venezuelan employees. Like it's going to create Venezuelan prosperity.
It's not a parasitic relationship. It's a mutually beneficial
relationship,
Absolutely.
Right? So you get people that have the tools, that have the money, and that have the interests.
They have the capital.
And
Welcome
the capital.
To capitalism.
There we go. And they have the money, they have the tools to do it, and they're going to come in, do it quickly, create a ton of jobs. And
that sounded like Trump. We're going to do it, and we're going to do it quickly. I love it. I love it. You're so right. And by the way, though, and that's a good point. But maybe we want to talk a little bit about this, how it relates to Canada, because right now we're
Canada's screwed.
Yeah, we're fucked.
Canada's screwed because they have a much cheaper source of oil all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talk about socialism like this, it's this horrible thing in Venezuela. Let's talk about socialism in Canada. You know, we have government central planning on which industries rise or fall.
Mm-hmm.
And this has caused an absolute chaos in Canada. Just as a Canadian, I could say that, you know, the standard of living has dropped tremendously.
Yep.
You know, and so, I mean, we can go into Canada, but we have a lot of things to cover around the world. I think we could do a little Canada summary at the end, because there's been a lot of things that happened in Canada the last 2 weeks before the end of 2025. What a disaster that was. So do you want to keep moving on Venezuela?
Yeah, but we got so much about Venezuela. Today can be like mostly Ven. Let's call them Ven. Can be Ven. But yeah. But regarding, by the way, and that's the thing though, one thing people sometimes get a little confused. Yes, Venezuela's oil is a little bit cheaper than Canada, but it's still heavy crude. But they keep saying, "Oh, Canada's oil is heavy crude. It's expensive." Well, two things. One, Venezuela's oil mostly today is heavy crude. But here's something, by the way. Although it is more expensive to drill for and to refine, because you need to use like steam and shit and blah blah blah. The U.S. actually craves heavy crude. The U.S. doesn't want light crude. They need heavy crude. That's what they actually want. And we could have been their supplier. We could have been the drug dealer, the pusher, giving them what they need so desperately.
Yeah.
And we cocked ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, the Liberals had a year to turn around.
A year? They've had a decade.
Yeah. But I mean, Carney, since he's been elected, they've had the last, 10 months to
make a deal. It was supposed to be a deal by July.
To get it locked in and start working. But nothing has been done in this country. And, the Canadian dollar will continue to tank. And we're just going to struggle in this country. But anyways, why don't we talk a little bit about socialism versus capitalism?
Because we can, but like if we want to stay on Venezuela real quick, okay?
Yeah.
Because I still think there's a few things. I want to look at the responses that we have from government officials and also, most importantly, from leftist lunatics. And that will lead perfectly into socialism versus capitalism, right? So, I mean, here's what's fucking funny, right? The huge difference between the US and Canada. So the US, after the strike, right, they had a press conference. They explained how everything was done. The flawless operation. Again, like I have a hard on thinking about how good it was. Mind you, by the way, let's compare this for a second. We had Joe Biden, who completely botched the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan. The withdrawal of troops. This is not like some operational mastermind plan here. Just leaving the country, botched it to the point where 13 service members died. And it was a humanitarian, I can't speak, crisis. Meanwhile, you have Donald Trump, who, with scalpel-level precision, destroys all the defensive in a nation to the point where they can't retaliate. He manages to track, find, and abduct a dictator. Exfil, 3 hours, no casualty. You're going to compare the level of competency between the two. But it goes further. So our own prime minister decided to write a typical Canadian answer where he really doesn't say much. He says, yeah, we're against Venezuela, and not Venezuela, but Nicolas Maduro, and he's horrible and oppressive and a criminal. But he won't even congratulate the United States for anything. He doesn't. He goes on to say, but we believe in the rule of law, international law, due process. Fuck off. This is double speak, trying to please all sides, not taking a position, and you look weak, impotent, and effectively just a loser. Meanwhile, you have Donald Trump, who actually publishes on Truth Social a mashup, a montage of the strikes and the explosions and the choppers going in, and it fucking blows me up. Or the one where you have Maduro, what's it called, like challenging Trump to say, like, come and get me, I dare you, you coward.
The White House meme. You see that?
Yeah, and then you have like you have Rubio just like la 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 la. Okay, fine, he's gonna find out, and boom, like that's leadership, man. I fucking love it. Meanwhile, we have Anita Anand, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, who pretty much just says again, like, we're monitoring the situation, and Canada calls all parties to respect international law and to stand. Fuck off. Again, you should be celebrating, you should be congratulating your ally to have the balls and the capacity to do what you've been denouncing and decrying now for a decade. We've seen the Justin Trudeau things, right? Again, it's just virtue signal, and then limp dick.
Do nothing.
Can't do anything. The U.S. did something. But then we have Pierre Poilievre, who had the balls, the decency to be an actual leader, say congratulations to President Trump on successfully arresting narco-terrorists, not calling him President Maduro, the real thing, narco-terrorist and socialist dictator Nicolás Maduro, who should live out his days in prison. The legitimate winner and the most recent Venezuelan election, Edmundo Gonzalez, should take office along with the courageous heroes and voice of the Venezuelan people, Maria Corina Machado. Down with socialism, long live freedom. Baby, Like, that's a leader. That's what we need in Canada. But now let's have a little bit of fun. And then it's going to lead between socialism versus capitalism. Because the peanut gallery were quick to start producing downright dogshit content about virtue signaling their way. So let's start with our favorite. I'm going to put this. Okay, we're going to start with our favorite, our resident fatty boom boom, Rachel Gilmore, the one who hates men. I can't believe she got invited to a Senate hearing to bitch about how men and fucking feminism is under attack in Canada and extremism is on the rise because she gets teased online for being a fatty. I mean, go to the gym, you fuck. Anyways. All right. So we got Rachel Gilmore right here saying that she's genuinely horrified. Genuinely horrifying take. Okay, she's replying to Pierre Poilievre, who congratulated President Trump on like the best strike ever. Genuinely horrifying take when you consider there's no technical legal difference between kidnapping Maduro and kidnapping Carney and calling this freedom Orwell wept. Well, first of all, yes, please.
Wait. Is that what she actually said?
Hey, on TV.
What a moron. Because, Nicolas Maduro is the man who had his own government army run over peaceful protesters.
Yeah.
In like military, what do they call them? Like Humvees or whatever? Not Humvees, like battle tanks.
Well, they're infantry. Oh my God, personal infantry. IP.
I'm calling them battle tanks for now. All right.
Armored personnel carriers, APCs.
Ran over peaceful protesters and probably killed them.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's defend that guy with human rights violations coming out of the years.
Yeah.
Okay, created an era of poverty in his country. A country that could be incredibly wealthy with all the resources
and
they
was
have.
And was. It was the wealthiest Latin American country.
Yes, sir.
My father back in the day was actually submitted a project and was going to build a hotel resort there. It was like a gold mine. It was like insane. Then it went to shit. But I want to bring your attention to what she did right here. Notice how she limited replies on her own post. She made it so that no one can reply. So, Rachel, you know what we call that? We call that someone with no cojones. If you're going to make a statement and you're going to have a belief, stand behind it and allow people to challenge you. You dare call yourself a journalist, and you dare, by the way, complain and denounce and decry the fact that you were fired, shit-canned from your freaking fact-checking job because you sucked. Well, here's the reality. You're accountable to the people whom you write for and to. That's the whole point of democracy, by the way, which you apparently espouse. Let people debate you and or criticize your shit instead of blocking them like a dictator would. Interesting, isn't it? I have and will never, and I make this pledge, I have never deleted and will never block anyone from replying to our content. And plenty of people do. Plenty of people disagree. I will never, I refuse. I've had people send me death threats, and I refuse to even send that to the cops either. I refuse. I believe in people's free speech. Anyways, then we have... Oh, you've taken it over.
Sorry, I thought you were...
No, but let's go with yours.
Yeah. I love to contrast liberal hypocrisy, and this is exactly what that is, okay?
I love that one.
He wants to do or is doing.
Okay, so this is Chuck Schumer, the governor in New York.
He brags about all these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
So what can the Congress do about it is the next question.
Well, the next question is very simple, and that is that we have the War Powers Act. That's a privilege resolution, which means the Republicans can't block it. Tim Kaine and I and Rand Paul are sponsors of it. It's going to come to the floor this week. And if it is voted for, if it's voted positively in both houses, then the president can't do another thing in Venezuela without the okay of Congress. We have to pass it.
In your
What a fucking chump,
You
eh?
see the hypocrisy there?
That's what I mean. They don't stand for shit.
No.
They stand for nothing.
They stand
these
for the message of the
fucking
day so
idiots.
that they get voted in and exploit the system and, launder your tax
hate
money overseas.
I hate them. And this year, again, this year is the year of no, remember? Just say no to you old Schumer shit. Here's another thing we should say no to. Laura Babcock, who loves to choke on damn... Anyways, another response to Pierre Poilievre saying that right on cue, Poilievre sucks up to his Big Daddy Trump, which is, again, very ironic considering your last name is Babcock. Anyways, Big Daddy Trump praising him for the lawless invasion of another country in our hemisphere. Sure, Maduro is a bad man, but what's to stop Poilievre and MAGA from claiming Carney as a dictator and running a socialist regime? He lies for power. Dude, girl, you're so fucking weird.
The fear-mongering. The absolute fear-mongering with absolutely no substance. Oh, sure, he's a bad guy, but, what does that mean about our own country? Well,
And then she
fact
continues.
of the matter is,
Yeah.
Poilievre has been in office for... Not in office, I'm sorry. He's been the leader of the opposition for a number of years now.
Mm-hmm.
He's never called on anything like that. And posting something is incredibly irresponsible, and it shows how completely clueless you are on politics.
You know what I find? Yeah, it's fucking insane. Okay, Laura Babcock continues with a solid fuck you to everyone who has accused me of being an alarmist about Trump. I've been right for decades, sadly. Oh my God, he's done what the entire world... The Venezuelans are cheering on the streets. They're partying.
You know what? I would love to show some clips of that.
Do it.
Yes,
please.
Because these people need an absolute reality check. All right. I'm going to pull up a few clips and I'll put them all together for you. Don't worry.
do.
This is a tweet. Okay. This is from a Venezuelan named Carlos Alberto Espinoza. Okay. If you are not Venezuelan and have not lived 27 years under a tyranny, you have no idea what it means to be thrown in jail for weeks for peacefully protesting. You don't know what it is to lose 15 kilograms because of socialist economic destruction, to emigrate and to go years without seeing your family, to walk as a pariah without papers, or to watch those you love being repressed and tortured. You know none of this, and yet you dare to flaunt moral superiority and your Yankee anti-imperialism? Know this, your arrogance is monstrously cynical and of unbearably bad taste.
Damn.
That's from the mouth of a Venezuelan. That's not from my mouth.
No. I wish it was from my mouth. That's a fucking smackdown and a half.
Hell yeah. And, you saw protests and counter-protests in Venezuela, in the United States, take a look at this. This happened this is the size of the celebration in
Caracas.
in South Florida.
Oh, okay. Oh, damn. Oh, let me read your DMs there. Who's that?
I don't know what happened there. This is part of the 8 million people that left the country.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many clips like this of people just celebrating in droves that this guy's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but leftists and lunatics and what do you call them? Opportunistic politicians will take the dumb road when it is
absolutely
beneficial to them.
We got Roddy, another retard in Canada. Poilievre is an idiot. Wonder how his Alberta constituents feel about Trump taking Venezuela's oil reserve for himself. Well, you know what? They probably feel like Carney failed at securing a deal because, now they're going to suffer. Anyways, it continues. There's just all these retards commenting about Pierre Poilievre congratulating the president of the U.S., but the winner of it all.
Yeah, the CBC.
The CBC had to have, and you can see what's on TV. I
Yes,
highlighted it. Dog shit CBC as usual. They made a post saying, Nicolas Maduro, the man of the people with an iron grip. You guys are funded with my tax dollars?
Delusional. Utterly
I
delusional.
will make it my mission this year to expose the CBC. You know what? We should go Nick Shirley on the CBC's ass.
Dude.
We should go Nick Shirley
I
on
love
their
Nick
ass.
Shirley. Have you seen what he's been talking about Somalia?
Yeah. I've been following it for sure.
Oh my God.
But we
Somalia.
should go Nick Shirley on the CBC, uncover the corruption, the money being pumped into that organization in order to prop up the government, the propaganda arm, the biases they have internally. The fact, oh man, I got so much. I hate the CBC. I hate them with a passion. And journalists are so freaking arrogant. They have this pompous thing of like they are the truth and the source of power. And you see it in the US, all these journalists are attacking. Nick Shirley is hardly a journalist. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just a pretender. Yeah, well, guess what, guys? With your big budgets and your big gear and your big fucking investigative tools, you never uncovered what a fucking young man with a freaking cell phone managed to do in the span of like a couple weeks. So you guys got outclassed.
Yeah.
Anyways, regarding Venezuela, we'll just end, or unless you have some other things you want to talk about Venezuela, but you know, the reality of Venezuela, and this one I find fucking funny, is that Venezuela used to be much, and we speak, okay, so nowadays there's like one country that is considered to be the new up-and-comer in Europe, Poland. They will be the dominant economic driver of the EU in the next 30 years. Kind of crazy. Well, Venezuela used to be a much wealthier country than Poland, which was suffering under socialism, right? Poland was part of the Iron Curtain. They were part of the USSR. Well, Poland, after the fall of the USSR, implemented free market and capitalism, capitalist principles, and enjoyed an economic boom. Meanwhile, Venezuela chose socialism from a very free market economy, which brought upon poverty and misery. And if you look at the graph here, GDP per capita, 1931 to 2022, as you can see, Venezuela was considerably above Poland up until the early 1990s, when Poland got rid of socialist policies and communist policies with the USSR, and they started implementing free market capitalism, and they have boomed. They have blown up from under, I'd say, maybe $7,000 of GDP per capita, all the way to today. It stands at roughly, let's say, $33,000, while Venezuela peaked in early, say, 2010 at 18,000, and today is below $5,000, below what Poland was in 1940. Holy fuck.
On top of that, Poland's life expectancy went up just around 10 to 12% during that economic boom. All right. And I think this is a great segue into capitalism versus socialism.
Let's do it.
So I'm going to take it from Venezuela, and then we'll go over different regimes in the world that had socialism versus capitalist states. Okay.
Let's do it.
So Venezuela, like we said earlier, has the largest oil reserves on planet Earth. Okay. And under Nicolas Maduro, a self-proclaimed socialist and a socialist authoritarian, that oil produced poverty, not prosperity in that country. Yeah. Okay, that's the core contrast, because socialism says nationalize the resources, control prices, and centralize power. Okay, what actually happened in that country is oil production collapsed, corruption exploded, millions fled, the state hoarded power, and the people got nothing, as displayed by your statistic on the GDP. And what I'm talking about now is not political theory. We're not having a philosophical debate. These are statistics. These are hard facts.
Yep.
Okay. Capitalism says, bring capital, bring technology, incentives, and competition. That's capitalist theory. And what does that enable? Job creation, tax revenue for hospitals and infrastructure, skills, currency stability, a middle class that does not need the state to survive. Okay. The moral difference isn't who owns the oil, it's who benefits from it. Socialism concentrated oil wealth in the hands of the Maduro regime. Capitalism can spread it if the locals participate. So, for Venezuela, a capitalist revolution in oil would mean joint ventures and Venezuelan workers having great opportunities for their own growth. So, the real debate isn't capitalism versus socialism. It's, do you want oil to fund a government or to fund a society? And personally, I'm tired of watching socialist clowns who don't understand the nuance of what we're discussing in things like the conversation we're having today. Venezuela's hyperinflation reached astronomical levels, with projections and estimates placing the annual rate at around 1 million% or even up to 10 million% in 2018 to 2019, causing the currency to become virtually worthless. Now, let's go deeper into the socialism versus capitalism debate here, okay? We just watched Western socialists protest the fall of Nicolas Maduro, while actual Venezuelans celebrated and laughed at them. And that tells you everything you need to know. Let's go to East versus West Germany, okay? Same people, same culture, East and West Germany. Socialist East Germany versus capitalist West Germany. Sorry, I just needed to clarify that.
Mm-hmm.
By 1989, West Germans earned 2 to 3 times more. East needed a wall to stop people from escaping.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay? Walls are not built to keep capitalism out. They're built to keep people from fleeing socialism.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? North versus South Korea. Same ethnicity, same language, same history. North Korea, socialist. Okay? Chronic famine. That's what the North Koreans lived through. And a GDP per capita of $1,300.
It's a lot of lots of dineros.
South Korea, a capitalist country. Samsung, Hyundai, LG, GDP per capita of $33,000. One side has nukes and starvation. The other has iPhones and life expectancy.
But I mean, have you ever had a nuke before? Those are some pretty nice
they're delicious,
things.
huh?
Don't know about
China, before and after capitalism. Maoist socialism. 45 plus million dead in the Great Leap Forward. Okay? Post 1978 market reforms, that's when capitalism started to, enter China. 800 million people lifted out of poverty. China didn't succeed because of socialism. China succeeded because it had to abandon it. Not fully, but I mean, China manufactures a ton, and you need a capitalist state and companies to manufacture. So even the CCP knows this.
Of course.
So let's go to Cuba versus Florida.
Nah. Nah.
Okay. 90 miles apart. They're 90 miles apart, Cuba and Florida. Cuba. In Cuba, doctors are paid between $30 to $50 a month. Cuba rations books, has frequent blackouts, and essentially zero economic innovation. Okay. Florida. Cuban refugees become business owners in 1 generation.
Yeah.
Same people, different
And
rules.
you know what? And the Cubans in Florida are overwhelmingly Republicans. And by the way, I got this idiot right here. His name is William Napoleon. Interesting last name, by the way, who keeps saying this was because of corruption, not socialism. Seems like there's a lot of corruption when it comes to socialism, because all of those are failed examples.
Please find me a non-corrupt socialist state.
Well, there you go.
Go ahead.
That's a good
Stop
point.
wasting our time.
That's hilarious.
Next.
At least it's not the hub. At least it's not the hub.
Global poverty, and this should completely end the debate, okay? In 1820, roughly 90% of humans lived in extreme abject poverty,
Mm-hmm.
okay? In today's age, less than 9%. Okay? That drop didn't come from socialism. It came from free markets, free trade, property rights, and capital investment.
Amen.
Okay? Capitalism has been the greatest poverty reduction engine ever created, bar none. Innovation. Let's go to innovation. That's the next part of our capitalism versus socialism debate. Okay? Most transformative tech For example, the internet, smartphone, semiconductors, AI, space flight. And I'm going to extend that, okay? I'm going to say the airplane, your fridge, okay? Your stove, your clothes clean, washer dryer, okay? Basic electricity, okay? The affordable car, okay? Henry Ford in the United States. Most of those innovations came from the United States of America, the land of free market capitalism.
Hell yeah.
Okay? Why? Why did the US have so much innovation compared to the rest of the world? Because there's a profit motive. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
People are willing to risk capital for profit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Failure is allowed, but you are also rewarded for your success.
Mm-hmm.
Socialism does not innovate. It just copies and controls.
Yeah, socialism also, the problem, and I think it goes down to fundamentally, we cannot all be equal. Equality is a lie. It doesn't exist anywhere in nature. Anywhere in nature, there's no such thing as equality. Now, we evolved apes came about and said, well, we need to be equal. Well, you know what? I like that. I'm cool with that. With equality of opportunity. You, whether you're a girl, a guy, Indian, or Indian with a feather, but I'm not. Well, ish, a little bit. Anyways, I'm going to get roasted for that. But you're allowed to try equally. There's nothing holding you back from trying. Yeah, you have equality of opportunity. We've spoken about this before. What you don't have, however, is the right to have the exact same outcome as you or someone else. You can put more effort. You can do it better. You can risk more, and you might be rewarded. You might. It might not. But you're not allowed to have equality of outcome because that is fucking dumb. Does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
That is how you level downwards, not upwards. That's my take.
So to wrap up my little socialist versus capitalist segment, socialists always protest capitalism from countries they don't live in. On phones, capitalism built, using platforms capitalism invented, while people who actually lived under socialism run away from it. Capitalism is far from perfect, but socialism doesn't fail by accident. It fails every single time. So at some point, ignorance stops being compassion and starts being arrogance. So that is my socialism versus capitalism
I like
segment.
the end of it. What do you say to that, Willy boy? What do you say to that?
And you know what? You want to talk a little bit more about socialism? Let's talk about Somalian fraud. Okay?
No, that's not socialism.
Think about
fraud.
it this way. Think about it this way.
Mm.
They get government funds from government programs, which are promoted through socialist policy.
Yeah, but I get what you're going with that.
The bigger government you have, the more taxation you have. That creates, a tax base.
No, for sure. But it's not, the issue at hand is not socialism itself. And I'm not a fan of socialism, but when it comes to the Somali fraud, that's not socialism. It's rampant, unfettered corruption, immigration of third worlders who abuse systems. See, there's a certain level of
socialist systems. Capitalist systems don't have handouts like that, but that's all.
Yeah, but not, and this is, you and I might bump heads, but so be it. There's certain systems where socialistic roots are not necessarily bad, but you require absolute homogeneity and very high trust in society. Scandinavian countries used to be like that. You had crazy programs, and nobody abused it.
Yeah, but also the most oil per capita in the world.
Well, it depends which country.
I think Denmark is.
No, it's Norway. It's
Norway. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, Norway, sure, but Denmark or Sweden also had or Finland, although it's not Scandinavia technically, it's called Fennoscandia over there. Sorry, my Finns, but they don't have oil, and yet they still had amazing programs, right? It can work in an idealistic, perfect vacuum scenario, which a small country like Norway with 5 million people that are all blonde, blue eyes, with a very homogeneous background, sharing the same culture, sharing the same ethos, sharing the same everything. They have something over there called Jante law, and it's like unofficial law and it states something like, I'm gonna fucking find it. It's insane. Like, it really. Jante law, just to show you what I mean. So the law of Jante is a Scandinavian culture code from some fucking book and whatever. But at the core, the key principles is Don't think you're special. You aren't better than others. Don't think you're as good as us. Don't get above your station. Don't think you're smarter or more important. Everyone is equal in worth. Don't think you know more. Don't act like you know it all. Don't think you're good at anything. Downplay your talents. Don't think anyone cares about you. Focus on the group, not yourself. Don't think you can teach us. Don't presume superiority. When everyone in a society works that way, it will automatically elevate the group. It's like hockey, right? A hockey where like, I don't care how good you are, you play for the team. You don't play for the name on your back, right? The name tag. You play for the logo on the front. But that requires 20 guys to do the same. The second one thinks he's the superstar and goes against what the group does. It lowers the entire team. Well, in a society, small group, homogeneous, very, very tightly knit, when everyone thinks the same, it can and it does work. The problem is once you start corrupting that and letting low trust cultures in, then absolutely the system fails. Whereas,
sorry, just a quick question: do those governments centralize, resource production, and
no, because
do they rely on a capitalist system for the system to work?
That's the difference between socialism and communism, right? Communism is the means of productions are owned by the state. Socialism, it's more that the oh my God, there is a fucking fundamental difference, and I don't want to mess it up. Socialism.
I mean, I don't agree with that. I feel like one just leads into the other and is like
the
baby version of that.
The big difference is that in capitalism, you're not gonna have that issue. Okay, the issue is never gonna exist. Period. Due to the fact that it's a free for all, dog eat dog world, which I prone. I'm a big believer. But what I'm trying to say is in a very small society. Okay, another thing, for example, Estonia, another very interesting country that used to be communist. It used to be under the USSR. Well, in Estonia, 99.2% of government services are digital. They vote online. They fucking vote online. I think that is mind-blowingly cool. Would I want that in Canada? Fuck no. That would be ripe with corruption. But in a country of 1.5 million individuals, do you understand how easy it is to check and balance that? Like 1.5 million, that's tiny. That's 3 times less than the greater Montreal region, right? If the popular sentiment is, for example, I don't know, Poliev to win, if all of a sudden Carney wins by big, because you just like through people, you just know the entire country basically. So there's some things that work in various scenarios. What I'm trying to say ultimately is that for Canada, for the US, and for most countries, I believe capitalism works. But can socialism really work in a very tightly knit vacuum? In a perfect world, yeah, but that's the issue. The same thing with communism. It works on paper. It doesn't work in a perfect world. I mean, it doesn't work in regular life. World. Yeah, sorry. Yes. It only works in perfect world.
Okay.
There you go. That's my issue. But in those countries, under, at the time, idealistic scenarios, it worked. But that's the issue. It was idealistic scenarios.
Okay. Well, want to talk about Somalia and the U.S.?
Dude, we can make an entire episode. We won't have the time to talk
I'm
about that
I'm gonna do it real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. These are just recent numbers that came out, okay? And I just had to contrast it with the numbers that Somalia generates, okay?
Yeah.
So federal prosecutors say up to $18 billion may have been stolen from U.S. social programs. Okay, $18 billion, okay? Do you want to take a guess as to what the country of Somalia's entire GDP is?
That.
Less. 12 to $13 billion. So Somalians steal more in the United States, Somalis steal more in the United States than actually produce in their own country.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the only reason Somalia exists, aside from the fact that there was like the U.S. intervention back in the day, is thanks to theft and fraud of mostly Minnesotans. Pretty much.
Yeah. So what that means is that criminal networks operating in the U.S. have extracted more money in the United States than Somalia produces in an entire year. Okay? And, Ilhan Omar.
Oh, fuck that cunt.
I can't stand her. But Ilhan Omar went live and accused America, blamed America for causing all of Venezuela's problems. And when I saw her say that, and I mean I could play the clip if you want, but I don't think it's necessary. She's blaming the US.
Yeah.
Okay? She has no right to talk about anything bad that happens in the US or that the US has done without looking in the mirror at how our own people are behaving in the United States.
Tell me about it.
Okay. Maybe that explains why Somalia is such a miserable place to live, because the people in that country can't be trusted to act with integrity on the grand scale.
It's low trust society. That's what it is.
And Tim Walz called Nick Shirley, who exposed this. He's calling him a racist, white supremacist for exposing rampant fraud in his state.
Well, Tim Walz can say that from the corner of irrelevance because he is not presenting himself as the governor of the state anymore. Fuck you, you bitch. Look, obviously you're gonna, and that's another thing too. The year of 2026 is the year where the word racism, bigot, this supremacist, this, that, anti this, and fuck that. It doesn't work anymore.
Loses
You've used
value.
it. You've
It's
used
lost
it so much over the last decade. Nobody cares. And guess what, by the way? The reality is that it's becoming the norm. People want to safeguard their country, their nation. They're tired of being taken advantage of. Did you see what Trump posted? He posted a graph listing the immigrant welfare recipient rates by country of origin. And I'm not going to go through it all because there's hundreds of countries on it. But which one is number one? And it's not Somali. They're number three.
Sorry, what was the question?
Which country has the highest percentage of immigrant household receiving assistance, social assistance, welfare?
Which country? Oof, that's a tough one. Hold on a second.
It's actually, you're not going to get it. There's no way. It's actually like, it's small, obscure country.
Okay, go
in
for it.
Asia, though. In Central Asia.
I have no idea.
No. It's Bhutan.
Okay.
So
That's what I guess.
Bhutan, with 81.4% of immigrant household receiving social assistance. That is insane.
In the United States?
In the United States. Okay. 81.4%.
Just come into the U.S. to mooch off the system.
100%. The second country or with immigrants household receiving or immigrant welfare recipient rates by country of origin. The second one is Yemen with 75.2%. Number 3, Somalia with 71.9%. Number 4, the Marshall Islands with 71.4%. Number 5, Dominican Republic with 68.1%. And then, I mean, I'm not going to go through them all, obviously. Afghanistan, 68%. Congo, 66%.
No surprise there.
Guinea, 65%. Samoa, 63%. Iraq, 60%. Armenia, which is
I have a
weird.
question for you. Why do we need these people in this country if they're just going to come extract the system, cause rampant fraud, praise Sharia law, like do all these things that are completely against this country? And I say this as a son of immigrants. You know, when people like immigrants from the 90s came, they came with a social contract. They came to the country knowing, hey, I have to provide value or I don't belong here.
Absolutely. And your question is the cornerstone of it all. Why do we need it? We've been sold a lie for decades that diversity is our strength. We need it to survive. I mean, and even Tim Walz, or maybe it was Ilhan Omar, says that Minnesota was built by Somalis. Without Somalis, Minnesota doesn't exist. What? What? That's news to me. Technically speaking, if you look at the data and the statistics, actually, your country would not exist without one state in the U.S. called Minnesota. I think Minnesota would do just fine without you. But let's actually bring that closer to home because, and I gotta thank Curtis for this. He's the one who kind of like il m'a aiguillé. He put me into the right path for that. I have a graph right here, and this, bro, this is exactly why. Like the question is, why do we need these people? Why we're doing this to ourselves? Okay, it looks at social assistance. Let me say this again. Social assistance rate for resettled refugees in Canada by years since admission. Effectively, how many refugees are still receiving social assistance welfare after X amount of years being within Canada? And this is where you start fucking wanting to pull the hair out of your head. So,
I don't have any.
yeah, fair enough. So, ultimately, and it's separated by three levels, right? You have government-assisted refugees. So those are what you consider the real refugees, right? The people that are told to come. You have privately sponsored refugees. Those are like a family of people taking in a refugee, right? You're allowed to do that. And then you have what's called blended visa office referred refugees. But regardless, let's look at the real government assisted refugee program, the one we consider what refugees are. Year one, when they enter Canada as refugees, 95% of them are on social assistance, on a welfare. But you know what? That's to be expected. New country, you left a shithole, whatever, right? Year two, that goes down to 75%. Okay, it's good. Some people are getting the hang of it. It still took a year. You still have 3/4 of people still mooching on the tit of the government, but whatever. Look, let's be nice and kind and whatever. Okay. What about by year 11, 40% of them are still on fucking social assistance. Year 11, you've been a drag on society that welcomed you in and gave you freedom for 11 years. Let's be honest. You have no intentions of ever repaying society for what they've done for you. 40%, that is insanely high, dude. That is 40, that's almost 1 in 2 refugee being on the tit of the fucking society forever. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why?
What do they call it? Moral suicide? What did you call it?
Suicidal empathy.
Suicidal empathy. That's the one. It's great.
And let's compare it to this, right? So anyway, I had a graph here that we looked at, but there's another graph because that's just for refugees, which is obviously very, very, very bad here. But we also have the difference between refugees and just regular immigrants, because it gets a bad rep, but regular immigrants are not bad. And this is where you have to understand, like, this is not some racist shit. It's not like immigrants are not bad, but here's the comparison. We're looking at immigrants that came under the family-sponsored plan. You have economic principal applicants, so people that came here by applying for like an economic, like a visa, like a work visa effectively, right? And then you have economic spouse dependents, and then you have family sponsors. So spouse dependent, that's easy, right? You married someone, you want them to come here. Economic principal applicant, it's a work visa. And then family sponsored is that you have family members that live here and you want them to sponsor you. Well, this is again the percentage of them receiving social assistance, aka welfare. For the most case, most immigrants that are not refugees are below 2.5% of them you're receiving social assistance, which actually is on par with the local population. So to that I say congrats. By the way, the best are the people that just got a work visa. No shit. You come here on a work visa. You're going to work. So their rate is effectively 0% over 10 years.
Oh my God.
The worst is the family-sponsored one. They start low and they actually grow. Oddly enough, when your family sponsors you to come here as an immigrant, people become a drag with time on society. You can see here it's increased to about 10%, which is horrible after 10 years, but still, it's not that bad.
Minimal. Yeah.
The real bad one is that line right here, the fucking refugees, where, yeah, that's insane. Anyways, but in short, I'll just say the following. This one cracks me up, and you see it on screen right now. There's a report that came out that shows that 79% of Sweden's refugees have vacationed in countries that they fled, which obviously sparks the debate about the asylum claim validity and potential flaws in the immigration system. Like, you come to a country as a refugee claiming that you're being oppressed or persecuted, and yet you go back to your country on vacations? What? That is called abuse. And by the way, I've seen this with my own eyes. I know Ukrainians, for example, that fled to other European countries as a refugee. They were granted citizenship, not necessarily citizenship, sorry, but residency permit under the Ukrainian program of refugees. Guess what? They all went back home for the holidays. All of them. And in my head, I'm like, if you're safe enough to go back home on holiday, you're safe enough to fucking stay there. Not that I have a problem with them being elsewhere. They're not the worst refugees there are, but it's the principle.
Yeah.
Why are you living in another country if you're completely fine?
Just extracting their tax base.
There you go. So that was it for me today. I'll let you finish it up.
And these are like, I'm just going to wrap it up with Zohran Mamdani. Okay. I call him Zohran Mamdani.
Nice. Nice.
But he recently went live and said, "We will draw the city closer together. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism." Yeah. Basically calling on a communist revolution in the state of New York, or in the city of New York.
Have you seen how all the memes of the people after Maduro saying, well, the U.S. showed the warmth of collectivism to Like he reused the line, but on Maduro, right? Because now Maduro is going to be pretty much getting the warmth of collectivism by being a prisoner for the rest of his life, right? So there you go.
That one took a second.
Yeah, it took a second for that. Oh man.
And these are the people, like the stats that you showed with the refugee claims and how they just leech off the system.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people who vote for Mamdani overwhelmingly. Yeah. That and latte liberals and Starbucks socialists. These are the people who voted for Mamdani, and they're gonna get what they had coming, because
I can't wait.
You look at some of the appointments he's made in his staff. He chose Ramzi Kassem as New York City's chief counsel. He's not just a lawyer; he's a lawyer. He once defended an Al-Qaeda terrorist convicted of bombing that killed a civilian.
Nice.
He also represented pro-Hamas activist Mahmoud Khalil. That's a pattern of clients openly hostile to the United States. Okay? Mamdani says he's surrounding himself with specialists. Okay? For criminal justice, he chose someone with firsthand experience. Myson Linen, an ex-convict rapper who served time for violent crime. That's the expertise, buddy.
Yo, New York is gonna go down the shitter so bad.
When Mamdani announced his transition lead, it was Lena Khan. She's a socialist regulator, famous for expanding government power far beyond its traditional limits. That approach reshaped industries, often chaotically, and bankrupted iRobot and Spirit, costing thousands of people their jobs. Zohran Mamdani picked failed progressive Biden nominee Julie Su as top economic justice aide. She failed to get confirmed because lawmakers cited her record in California, catastrophic unemployment, fraud during COVID, aggressive regulation that hurt small businesses, and poor management and weak oversight. Damn. Okay. He tapped Catherine Almonte da Costa to lead his office of appointments. Then her old social media posts resurfaced. They included anti-Semitic tropes demeaning Jewish people. This is who he is trusting to build his team. She resigned shortly afterward. And these are the tweets she posted. Money-hungry Jews smack my head. Far Rockaway train is the Jew train. And then she posted, F the police.
A-cab.
A top fundraiser for Zohran Mamdani was exposed for celebrating anti-NYPD slurs and saying that the U.S. should be punished for its sins. Jack Gross, that's the guy's name, who helped raise more than $20,000 for the Mamdani campaign, wrote on social media in June 2020, that it was, quote, beautiful when New Yorkers yelled, NYPD, suck my ick. With a D in front. Okay?
You don't have to censor yourself. We don't do that shit here. You've already spoke about the Jews. We're gonna get demonetized.
I'm YouTube paranoid, bro. I once got my YouTube account was once just completely destroyed, and I don't even know why. Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, sorry, mayor-elect, he's already elected. Zohran Mamdani tapped Alex Vitali to his community safety committee. Okay, he wants policing abolished and even wrote a book called The End of Policing. Okay, these are radical lunatics that are in his staff.
Absolutely.
So
New York has it coming. You know what? New York has it coming. So be it. I wish them well. I hope everything works out. But you know what? I've been saying this forever. It's only once at a precipice that people find a will to change. So be it. Yeah. Let them fucking eat a bucket of shit. In the meantime, you and I will just preach the gospel. Mm-hmm. 2026 is a year of no. Yeah. On that note, do subscribe. Yes, the subscription. Subscribe to us. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube, Right Call Podcast. You guys on the live, appreciate you guys being here. Our YouTube is steadily growing. We had our first video ever at 11K, by the way. 11K. That was
pretty awesome.
That was amazing. Kudos. We made our first $100 USD of ad money, or whatever, AdSense, what the fuck it's called. So yeah, guys, Patreon, we appreciate it. $8 a month. You can be on the right side of things, or you can also pay $29.99, and we will send you a photograph of Simmer shirtless. And sorry, we just decided that right now. And but for the rest, everyone, Happy New Year. I hope it's an amazing one. And from all of us here at the Right Call Podcast, let's fucking make it happen this year.
Yes, sir.
Boo, yeah. And also, if you guys are in Calgary for the Conservative Convention, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I might be there too.
I really hope you do come.
Haven't decided yet, but
Convince everyone in chat. Convince. I would love. It'd be amazing. I think it'd be great.
yeah, it would be.
And yeah, let's make it happen. Okay, cheers. Bye.